May our ancestors breathe blessing onto us for our eyes to open and our life purpose to become clear. Dagara Prayer, West Africa.
Aboriginal creation dreaming. In the beginning, the earth was bare and plain. All was dark. There was no life, no death. The sun, the moon, and the stars slept beneath the earth. All the eternal ancestors slept there too, until at last they woke themselves out of their own eternity and broke through to the surface. When the eternal ancestors arose in the dream time, they wandered the earth, sometimes in animal form, as kangaroos or emus or lizards, sometimes in human shape, sometimes part animal and human, sometimes as part human and plant. Two such beings, self-created out of nothing, were the Ungambicula. Wandering the world, they found half-made human beings. They were made of animals and plants, but were shapeless bundles, lying higgly-piggly near where water holes and salt lakes could be created. The people were all doubled over into balls, vague and unfinished, without limbs or features. With their great stone knives, the Ungambicula carved heads, bodies, legs, and arms out of the bundles. They made the faces and the hands and the feet. At last the human beings were finished. Thus every man and woman was transformed from nature and owes allegiance to the totem of the animal or the plant that made the bundle they were created from, such as the plum tree, the grass seed, the large and small lizards, the parakeet, or the rat. This work done, the ancestors went back to sleep. Some of them returned to underground homes, others became rocks and trees. The trails the ancestors walked in the dream time are holy trails. Everywhere the ancestors went, they left sacred traces of their presence, a rock, a water hole, a tree. For the dream time does not merely lie in the distant past. The dream time is the eternal now. Between heartbeat and heartbeat, the dream time can come again.
In the beginning, there was darkness covered in darkness. There was no existence and no non-existence. There was no earth, no sky above. There was no death and no immortality. Their beginning of life floated on the waters of empty space. And from fire came the wind, and from the wind the waters. From the waters came the earth, and from the earth the seeds of man were created. Ancient Song of India.
Behold, our Mother Earth is lying here. Behold, she gives of her fruitfulness. Truly her power gives she us. Give thanks to Mother Earth who lies here. Behold on Mother Earth the growing fields. Behold the promise of her fruitfulness. Truly her power gives she us. Give thanks to Mother Earth who lies here. Behold on Mother Earth the spreading trees. Behold the promise of her fruitfulness. Truly her power gives she us. Give thanks to Mother Earth the running streams. We see the promise of her fruitfulness. Truly her power gives she us. Our thanks to Mother Earth who lies here. Native American Pawnee Hymn.
We should understand well that all things are the work of the Great Spirit. And we should know the Great Spirit is within all things. The trees, the grasses, the rivers, the mountains, the four-legged and winged people. And even more important, we should understand that the Great Spirit is also above all these things and people. When we do understand all this deeply in our hearts, then we will fear and love and know the Great Spirit. And then we will be and act and live as the Spirit intends. Black Elk.
Say, nature in its essence is the embodiment of my name, the maker, the creator. Its manifestations are diversified by varying causes, and in this diversity there are signs for men of discernment. Nature is God's will and is its expression in and through the contingent world. It is a dispensation of providence ordained by the ordainer, the all-wise. Were anyone to affirm that it is the will of God as manifested in the world of being, no one should question this assertion. It is endowed with the power whose reality men of learning fail to grasp. Indeed, a man of insight can perceive naught therein save the effulgent splendor of our name, the Creator. Say, this is an existence which knoweth no decay, and nature itself is lost in bewilderment before its revelations, its compelling evidences, and its effulgent glory which we have encompassed the universe. Bahula, from the tablets of Bahula.
We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. Native American proverb.
"50-1. Driving in my car all alone, I am one. Entangled on the pickup truck sit another 21. Inside, it's air conditioned, sanitized. The music sounds so sweet. Others taste the dust, feel the heat. Engine groans and misses a beat. At home in the cool, we are only 4. A room for every one of us and more. 8 are elsewhere sitting all around. They are by their single room that sleeps them on the ground. The refrigerator is open, revealing supermarket food inside. Each day a new taste sensation, scraps tossed aside. Others, eating from the garden, only once the rains have come. Same food daily, only less with each new sun. The gap is wide, getting wider every day. It makes me think, it makes me wonder, but can I say? It's 50-1. 50-1. That's the difference between us. It's not just a sum. Malawi Times.
They paved paradise and put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swimming hotspot. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away that DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Joni Mitchell.
Earth is enough. We men of earth have here the stuff of paradise. We have enough. We need no other stones to build the stairs into the unfulfilled. No other ivory for the doors. No other marble for the floors. No other cedar for the beams, a dome of man's immortal dreams. Here on the paths of every day, here on the common human way, is the stuff the gods would take to build a heaven, to mold and make new Edens. Ours the stuff sublime to build eternity in time. Edwin Markham.
There is no environment out there that is separate from us. We can't manage our impact on the environment if we are our surroundings. Indigenous people are absolutely correct. We are born of the earth and constructed from the 4 sacred elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Hindus list these 4 and add a 5th element, space. Once I had finally understood the truth of these ancient wisdoms, I also realized that we are intimately fused to our surroundings, and the notion of the separateness or isolation is an illusion. Through reading, I came to understand that science reaffirms the profundity of these ancient truths over and over again. Looked at as biological beings, despite our veneer of civilization, we are no more removed from nature than any other creature, even in the midst of a large city. Our animal nature dictates our essential needs: clean air, clean water, clean soil, clean energy. This led me to another insight, that these 4 sacred elements are created, cleansed, and renewed by the web of life itself. If there is to be a 5th sacred element, it is biodiversity itself. And whatever we do to these elements, we do directly to ourselves. As I read further, I discovered the famed psychologist Abraham Maslow, who pointed out that we have a nested series of fundamental needs. At the most basic level, we require the 5 sacred elements in order to live rich, full lives. But when those basic necessities are met, a new set of needs arises. We are social animals, and the most profound force shaping our humanity is love. And when that vital social requirement is fulfilled, then a new level of spiritual need arises as an urgent priority. David Suzuki.
Humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things connect. Chief Seattle.
How the flies. How the Fly Saved the River. Many, many years ago when the world was new, there was a beautiful river. Fish in great numbers lived in this river, and its water was so pure and sweet that all the animals came here to drink. A giant moose heard about the river, and he too came here to drink. But he was so big and he drank so much that soon the water began to sink lower and lower. The beavers were worried. The water around their lodges was disappearing. Soon their homes would be destroyed. The muskrats were worried too. What would they do if the water vanished? How could they live? The fish were very worried. The other animals could live on land if the water dried up. They couldn't. All the animals tried to think of a way to drive the moose away from the river. But he was so big, they were all too afraid to try. Even the bear was afraid of him. At last, the fly said that he would try to drive the moose away. All the animals laughed and cheered. How could a tiny fly frighten a giant moose? The fly said nothing. But that day, as soon as the moose appeared, he went into action. He landed on the moose's foreleg and bit sharply. The moose stamped his foot harder, and each time he stamped, the ground sank and the water rushed in to fill it up. Then the fly jumped all over the moose, biting and biting and biting until the moose was in a frenzy. He dashed madly about the banks of the river, shaking his head, stamping his feet, snorting and blowing, but he couldn't get rid of that pesky fly. At last the moose fled from the river, and he didn't come back. The fly was very proud of his achievement and boasted to the other animals. Even the small can fight the strong if they use their brains to think. Native American lore.
In today's highly interdependent world, individuals and nations can no longer resolve many of their problems by themselves. We need one another. We must therefore develop a sense of universal responsibility. It is our collective and individual responsibility to protect and nurture the global family, to support its weaker members, and to preserve and tend to the environment in which we all live. The Dalai Lama.
Earth Charter. In order to reorient individuals and societies towards a sustainable future, we must recognize the following. The unrestrained exploitation of natural resources is merely a symptom of an overall sickness of the human spirit. Any solutions to the environment development crisis must therefore be rooted in an approach which fosters spiritual balance and harmony within the individual, between individuals, and with the environment as a whole. Material development must serve not only the body, but the mind and spirit as well. The changes required to reorient the world toward a sustainable future imply degrees of sacrifice, social integration, selfless action, and unity of purpose rarely achieved in human history. And these qualities have reached their highest degree of development through the power of religion. Therefore, the world's religious communities have a major role to play in inspiring these qualities in their members, releasing latent capacities of the human spirit, and empowering individuals to act on behalf of the planet, its people, and future generations. Consultation must replace confrontation and domination in order to gain the cooperation of the family of nations in devising and implementing measures that will preserve the Earth's ecological balance. Only as women are welcomed into full partnership in all fields of human endeavor including environment and development, will a moral and psychological climate be created in which peaceful, harmonious, and sustainable civilization can emerge and flourish. Baha'i International Community to the Preparatory Committee of the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, 1991.
There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to shun embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8.
From heaven we have sent down the blessed rain, whereby we made the gardens grow and grain of harvest, and tall palm trees laden with clustered dates, in provision for men, thereby bringing again to life a land that was dead. Thus will be the resurrection.
The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. And the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. The voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Isaiah chapter 40.
The ultimate test of man's conscience may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations, whose words of thanks will not be heard. Gaylord Nelson, co-founder of Earth Day.
All things in this creation exist within you, and all things in you exist in creation. There is no border between you and the closest things, and there is no distance between you and the farthest things. And all things from the lowest to the loftiest, from the smallest to the greatest, are within you as equal things. In one atom are found all the elements of the earth. In one motion of the mind are found the motions of all the laws of existence. In one drop of water are found the secrets of all the endless ocean. In one aspect of you are found all the aspects of existence. Khalil Gibran.
Every time I lift up mine eyes unto thy heaven, I call to mind thy highness and thy loftiness, and thine incomparable glory and greatness. And every time I turn my gaze to thine earth, I am made to recognize the evidences of thy power and the tokens of thy bounty. And when I behold the sea, I find that it speaketh to me of thy majesty, and of the potency of thy might, and of thy sovereignty and thy grandeur. And at whatever time I contemplate the mountains, I am led to discover the ensigns of thy victory and the standards of thine omnipotence. Bahula.
I call upon the four winds, earth to ground me, air to teach me, fire to empower me, water to uplift me. I honor Grandmother Earth who bore me, Grandfather Sky who watches over me, and the Creator whose spark is within me and all things. Celtic invocation.
Love the animals, love the plants, love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you will begin to comprehend it better every day, and you will come to love the whole world with an all-embracing love. Fyodor Dostoevsky, from the Brothers Karamazov.
You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. Kindly leave this planet as you would wish to find it. Anonymous.